It's hard to see you without the love in your eyes. Now I kinda think it's been that way the whole time. It's crazy in this moment, realizing I'm
All right, mates, welcome back. JL Scott Fishing and Eats. Good morning, good morning, good morning. It is the Wednesday morning, early morning before Tournament Saturday across the region. We've got Upper Bay. I will be at Upper Bay, MLF, BFL, Northeast Upper Bay, Saturday morning. And then down on the Potomac, they will be having the KBF Kayak Bass Fishing Trail Stop 1 on Saturday, Trail Stop 2 on Sunday. So we're going to talk about that really quickly this morning because it looks like the field's pretty much set. So we're going to do some fantasy picks for KBF, but talking about the Potomac this time of year like we always do in the spring. Fish are spawning in different creeks. The key is going to be whether or not someone is in the know or not, like any other fishing tournament, on where those spawning fish, if they're going to be sight fishing this weekend or not. But the problem they're having is we're going to get what we always get in April. So let's talk about that for a second, all right? If you just take the middle of the river, and to me, the middle of the river is Indian Head, okay? If I'm going out on the river on any particular day, taking the boat, doesn't matter whether I'm leaving Leesylvania or I'm going out of Marshall Hall or I'm going out of somewhere, I always look at the Indian Head weather. It's kind of right in the middle of everything, right? And just north of there is where you get into some problems, okay? You get the chop, you get the wind coming in. If you get a north, south, southeast, if you get a north, whatever's happening, you don't want to be out in that channel. And that's a really good indication. Okay, what's the real weather conditions going to be? So historically, in Indian Head, the temperature ranges in April between 70, 71 degrees and 52 degrees. Okay, right? 52 on the low. Here's the problem. It's Wednesday morning. We're at 44 degrees. Okay. So we're already below the norm for what's happening in the fishery in terms of the weather. Now, whether or not that impacts the water temperature or not really all depends on where you're fishing, mate. Depends if you're fishing up north of Leesylvania, going towards Woodrow Wilson Bridge, where you still have some of that warm water areas around above Woodrow Wilson Bridge have some influence. And then you go down towards Nancy Boy Creek, which is closer to 301 in the south. Oftentimes, the water temperature and the clarity can be completely different. The other aspect of it is when people look at the weather, it's going to be 70 degrees on Saturday. Yeah, it's not going to be 70 degrees until 3 o'clock, okay? A lot of tournaments are done by then, all right? And so it's going to be kind of a different situation. While I don't think the weather is going to be as bad Saturday, April 29th as it was last year for KBF. Remember, KBF came to the Potomac last year early April, okay? After some weather events and then obviously getting what we got on the 9th, okay, of April last year. No surprise where the winning bite came from, given those weather concerns. And what do I mean by that? It means the weather on the Potomac coupled with the tide can totally shut down your creek bite. Okay, your traditional creek bite. What are the traditional creeks? You're looking at one right here, Mattawoman, the most popular creek on the lower Potomac for people who don't live here. Okay, you're only coming into town for a day to fish or a weekend, and this is the number one advertised, thank you very much, bass in MLF. However, a lot of those tournaments aren't won in the mat. Okay, most people don't tell you that. A lot of the coverage is the mat, okay, promoting the Potomac fishery. But a lot of those tournaments, whether Jay Ellis back in the day, okay, all that weren't in the Mattawoman, okay. So, whereas there may be a few locals, in these events, I think the local anglers and local sticks and hammers from Virginia, especially, will most likely be on the Virginia side because the quality of the bite. Okay. Which side of the river spawns first? It's always the question that gets asked. Okay. And it changes for the most part. If you go to my Facebook page, JL Scott Fishing and Eats, you can check out, by the way, the bird cam on Mattawoman. If you want to know what the weather conditions are right now in the Mattawoman Creek, go on my Facebook page and then save that link to your phone. It's from DNR for Maryland. They've got a cam, the bird cam, on the nest right on the mat. You can see what the weather conditions are. Okay? Very simple. This in front of you is the only ramp available and open for Saturday's event for KBF. Okay, it's the Mattingly Memorial Park is right above it. People call it Slavenstock. People call it Mattingly Park. It's got a bunch of different names, but this is the ramp, and this is what you're looking at. You typically look at, and a lot of people will go out of this and head left and go back into back, and some people may go right. Okay. And heads towards the mouth. Okay. This will probably be the most congested launch site for KBF on Saturday. That doesn't mean that it's the site. That doesn't mean all that means is it's the most well-known because Smallwood is shut down for Saturday's event. Okay. And so this is where a predominant number of people, I would imagine, are going to launch from. Okay. It's a small little ramp. Nice, put you right on some fish, right on some grass. Definitely great for kayaking and canoeing in that regard. So, can't take anything away from the mat at all. It's just simply not the only place where the biggins live in the Potomac. It's also the most highly pressured creek in the Potomac in springtime. Okay? Now, we've got another factor in. You also have Saturday that a lot of folks didn't experience years ago is you have a significant snakehead population now. You have a significant snakehead angler population now in Virginia and Maryland. And right now, the snakeheads are munching. Okay, they're shallow. They've moved up shallow. They're like to sit in that thin, skinny water in the sun. It was 80 degrees last week before we got this cool down. Okay, so they're going to be. A lot of these guys in some of these spots are going to be contending with the Saturday local snakehead anglers. Okay, because this is the time. For them as well to wake up and to get out and to get moving around. Okay, and then some guys have taken some massive dragons in the last few weeks. So when we look at that weather, we need to understand what's going to happen. April predominantly is overcast in the Potomac. Okay, 54% of the time in April, the river is overcast. So what's that going to do to the bite? 31% of the time in April, the river gets rain, at least precipitation at some point during the day. So what are we looking at for April 29th and April 30th, mates? We're looking at below average temperatures in the morning, and then we are looking at a 43% chance of rain and 10 to 12 mile an hour winds on Saturday, and a 49% chance of rain on the Sunday event, and winds 7 to 10 miles an hour on Sunday. Of course, all of that can change. So when you're picking stuff, fantasy, and you want to pick some fantasy picks like we're going to do here in a second, you want to be able to it's no different than picking what I'm going to do. I'll release a video for the Santee Cooper Bassmaster Elite Fantasy picks for this weekend, or actually tomorrow, starting tomorrow. So what's the weather going to be like? Who thrives in certain conditions? Okay. Which anglers are structure anglers that predominantly where they excel at in competitions where they're fishing docks and they're fishing structure, natural or city structure, right? Then you've got your chatterbait guys and your whopper popper guys, and that's all they do, and that's who they are, and that's all they burn, okay? You've got an equal mix in this event, mates, of some significant smally hammers, okay? in this event. Recognized smallmouth anglers from the Northeast coming to this event. Okay, so you got to factor that. That's not really at play here. Okay, they're too far south for the smallmouth to be any significance to play a factor in this event. Okay, it is a largemouth tidal, largemouth bass event. That does not mean that those guys can't catch largemouth bass, okay, because they can. I'm just saying their strength is more of a different kind of fishing that may or may not set up this weekend. So you have to factor that in your fantasy picks, okay? You may want to throw a little one or so in there, a little wild card in your fantasy picks and such. Big shout out Purple Lion Coffee. Drinking Costa Rica this morning. Purple Lion Coffee. You can find them on Instagram. And also a big shout out to folks down in Richmond, the big RVA brewery scene going on down there. You got some awesome breweries in Richmond that you want to check out. You want to check out Virginia craft breweries, fans of Virginia craft breweries, all that kind of stuff. Check that out. In Richmond, Virginia, not far from where these folks will be. A couple hours. So let's get into it. Okay. It was a KFL big. By the way, thank you very much. I didn't get a shout out. I'm just kidding. I didn't get a shout out last night, but I got a bunch of messages from some mates that were like, "Hey, they basically just took. They got your information from your video, Jay." And I'm like, "It's great. It's fine. Totally fine. Totally fine." Because it's important. It's important. Wasn't hating on anyone. I was just saying that this information is not being disseminated. Okay, and I'm a third party. Don't have an interest. Okay. Maybe have an interest on Sunday. Stay tuned. Stay tuned. May put that kayak skiff out on the water. We'll see what happens with the weather this weekend. You know, a lot of people have messaged me, dude, you got why are you not? Why are you not? Listen, I'm going to tell you why I'm not. Okay. April 29th is just a bad day. Okay. A great day for me, but a bad day for me, you know, doing anything in the lower Potomac, because there is a MLF BFL event on Upper Bay launching at 6:30 in the morning out of Anchors Marina. There is the Maryland Terrapins football game, the Red and White game at the stadium in College Park in the afternoon. And then we've got women's and men's lacrosse, men lacrosse in the first round of the Big Ten tourney, okay, at the Shell. And we're talking like, you know, hey, you know, or SECU Stadium, whatever. But you get my point. So there's a lot going on Saturday, okay? So I wish all the guys well fishing the event on Saturday, local and KBF. Take a look at Sunday. We'll see what happens. See what happens with the weather, see what happens with everything on Sunday, on whether or not to pop in on an event on Sunday. So remember, you've got a lot of anglers right now, okay? Here's the breakdown, mates, and it's kind of crazy. You have 43 registered anglers for KBF. That's low. There's no reason to run away from the fact that that's low. It's a low number for the Potomac. I don't care what anybody says. You've got 53 registered currently for the local trail KBF partner, NVKBA. You've got 28 registered for the KBF partner now with the merger of MAKBF and the Delaware Paddle Sports Kayak Series. 28 on Saturday in the single day event and 23 on Sunday. So, you know, and there are some guys that are fishing all of them. There's probably like 10 guys, probably, I don't know, 20% of the field is probably fishing more than one event, call it double dipping, okay? So you can factor that in, take that as what you will. And a lot of people, mates, from the April 9th and 10th, 2022 event are not here. As of yet, of course, this could change. We are 2 days away from the event. So I don't know what the cutoff is. I'm sure it's probably Friday night. No Ryan Nye, who won last year. Okay. No J.R. Rentz, who has won on the Potomac for KBF, I believe, in the past. No Tyler Sweet, who won, I think, the Pro Series on the Potomac with KBF. No John Tibbins, no Steven Sisto. No Paul Ambers. Who am I leaving out? Oh, no Matt Conant. Okay. So those are guys that have done really, really well in the Potomac fishery that are not here as of yet. They are not in the 43. And you guys can divide on the number of reasons for that. And you can go on social media and you see some of the stuff that some of the guys have said on social media about not necessarily these guys, but specific guys that have expressed their unwillingness to fish the KBF event, but they are fishing the local event. That's why you've got the disparity in the local event having more than KBF. So I leave that up to you guys. I'm not getting in the middle of that. Everybody has their opinion. Everybody has a right to their opinion. But sometimes you don't have a right to the facts. And some of the facts, from my understanding, were cleared up last night about KBF. So, you can't, I mean, I think they've continued to disseminate that information. I was just talking about the messages that I got about how, for the first time ever on any known KBF live stream, the iSportsman was mentioned, okay? Which I've been talking about in my videos for like the last month. Like, you don't want to wait until Friday, okay? You don't want to wait until Friday to get your permit to be able to go on to the Marine Corps base, launch out of Hospital Point Marina, and fish Quantico Creek or fish, all that. So you don't want to wait. My point was, and I've taken heat for it. Trust me, there are tons of haters in the kayak fishing community, far more than the boating community. I never catch shit from the boating community about any of the videos that I do. Talking about fisheries, talking about baits, talking about controversies, talking about DQs, talking about I don't get the hate that I get in the kayak fishing community. Okay. It's a maturity thing. I get it, whatever. But as someone on YouTube and as someone on TikTok and Facebook, I want to set people up and inform people and set them up for success. Okay, like I don't play that game where I'm not going to tell people that a ramp's closed and then they drive all the way down from New York or all the way up from South Carolina to fish in an event. They leave work at Friday at 5. And they hit the road and they show up at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning and they're getting early morning and they're camping out, sleeping in their car. And then they go to Smallwood State Park and guess what? The gate's locked. You can't get in because they're not allowing people to fish that day out of that ramp. Okay. That was where I was coming from. Why? Because we've all been there. We've all been there where we had a plan and we get to a place and it says they're supposed to open at like 8 and no one's there until like 8:40. Or, that says the gate's supposed to be open at 6 at a regional park, and you're there at 7, and here comes the guy with the keys. We've all been there. And people who pay good money deserve the information. And if you're not willing to provide the information, and this has been known, okay, this will be my knock on I don't care who's listening, okay? This has been known for months, and people are just now learning about it last night in a captain's meeting, okay? That's my concern. Like, this isn't like something that just happened because of an emergency or something like that. This has been a published event. The Smallwood Ramp has been published since February that it was going to be closed on April 29th. And I still got 2 more messages this morning. Where can I go? Like, what's the closest, where can I go? Well, you're looking at it, okay? Because this is the only other ramp you got if you want to fish in the mat, unless you plan on rolling 3-4 miles. Unless you plan on rolling across the channel, which, okay, not a real good idea, but people do it, okay? And so but this is it, okay? Mattingly Avenue Park, right on the screen, right here, nice little dock called Slavin's Dock. You can launch there with probably 20 other people. 15 to 18, maybe 20 people of the 43 are going to be launching out of this because a lot of these guys know the mat really well. They're grass anglers. They like to fish grass. They like the tidal setup for the mat. It's a very easy setup. It's a very easy place to fish. And it's a very easy place to get a limit, barring conditions, okay? The fish are there, mates, okay? They're there, all right? And so far, it should set up, even though we're going to get some overcast and we're going to get some rain, it should set up better than last year, early April. because you have fish spawning right now. There could be some sight fishing depending on the conditions, okay, going on, okay. There could be a good topwater bite, depending on what the water temps, and then what we got going on. And so you look at it like the couple of the guys that stand out here for this event are going to be some local hammers, and then a couple of people coming from outside of town. So from a fantasy pick perspective, kind of spoiled because there's only 43 anglers, and I picked 5 anglers for fantasy. Okay, so kind of spoiled in that regard. You cannot sleep on my number 1 fantasy pick for the weekend, Alex Folka. Okay, you can't sleep on Alex. It's got to be in your fantasy picks. Okay, got to be in your fantasy picks. Okay, he's done it before on the Potomac. He knows the Potomac very well. He's won a KBF event, I think a Trail Stop 2 on the Potomac. Okay, gotta have Alex on your squad. So there's your local hammer, all right? Of all the local hammers that you could pick from, you want to get a little local mix in your 5. That's your number 1 local guy. Okay. Now, from Virginia, but not local to the Potomac, but a Virginia hammer, okay? No, not Casey Reed, because I don't think he's fishing this event. If he is, I don't know if Casey does that well on title. I don't know. I have to ask around about that. But if he was, you got to go with Justin Largan, okay? Another guy who has put up 85 inches before on the Potomac in some pretty shitty conditions, okay? So those are your Virginia, Maryland guys, okay? Alex and Justin, okay? Now, guys coming in from afar or elsewhere. Nick Audi, okay? Former, still, I guess, till they work it all out. Pennsylvania bronzeback. Hammer in the Northeast. Pennsylvania and up north. Pretty much a Somali guy, I think, because he's won a lot of Somali events. But pretty smart guy. Great angler. If you ever checked him out at any of the expos, he's getting into that shtick now, which is awesome. It only elevate his brand and elevate his name to where more people are aware of his skills. Okay, he's done really well with KBF. Gotta have Nick. Now, when you get to spots 4 and 5, that's where, for me, it gets interesting. Because there are a couple guys in there that could show out. Okay? And I think we got the first 3, I think we got really, really solid. You could go with a Mike Elsey coming all the way from the Midwest, okay, in that mix. Ryan, I call him Raleigh Matty because I can never pronounce him and his dad's last name on live streams and stuff, so I just say Ryan Matty. Another Pennsylvania brownback guy, great river angler. I'm thinking Ryan. in that 4 spot, okay? And in that 5th spot, I think I'm going to go with Mike Elsey. I don't know how Mike fishes on title. I mean, he does great in lakes and big lakes and in impoundments and things like that. I'm not really sure how he does on tidal fisheries like the Potomac, but the guy is just really, really consistent. Okay. Now, I'm going to throw you a wild card, okay? A wild card in this mix. And it's got to be a wild card, and I may have to adjust. Remember, we still got 2 more days for registrations, and we always get this. For some reason, I don't understand it. And no one's really been able to explain to me why. They just tell me, Jay, that's just the way it is. Don't know why kayak anglers wait until the last freaking minute all the time to register. I mean, I would think that you already have your day off. I would hope, right? So you're coming. And so I don't know whether that's like a psychological thing. I haven't quite figured that out yet. Because the boater side, people register ahead of time. Like sitting on a co-angler list, out, right? 16, 18, whatever it is, 6 to 16 guys sitting on a co-angler list outside waiting on boaters. But it's like you're waiting for your link and all that stuff. But you've committed to going to the event. They know you're coming, right? Or they know you're on the wait list, right? And then with all these opens and all that stuff in the boater community, and most people don't wait to the last possible second to register for BFLs. So I haven't quite really grasped that in entering the kayak space in the last few years, why that's a phenomenon. I don't know who they think they're serving. I mean, maybe it's economics. Friday they get paid and they register up Friday night. I mean, that could be a possibility, but it's kind of tough to pick fantasy, in that kind of context for a lot of them, Bass and Hobie. Hobie not as much, because most people want to lock their spot up at Hobie because Hobie traditionally sells out. It hasn't this year, okay, because they kind of upped it to 225 in terms of registrations. But last year it was selling events out, and you're on wait lists for like probably more than half their events. And that's what the KBF needs to get to. I don't think they can. I don't think they will. I mean, they're only at 43, and their max is probably 125. I don't know, 150, whatever. But I'm just saying, and because it's kind of like a what do you call that? A self-perpetuating prophecy, because they know it's not going to sell out. They wait until the last minute. Or I don't know. But wild card, because he's not on the registration yet. Okay? But there's been some rumblings. Keep an eye out for Rich Biggie. Okay? Just saying. There may be some other guys coming down from that Syracuse Swarm, former Bay State Attack, New York Empire. Tyler Sweet was New York Empire, okay? He's not listed yet. It does not mean he's not coming, because we still got 2 days left. That could change. That could change the makeup, okay, of this fantasy. All right? Last minute Friday night changes. You can change. You can change up until Friday night, okay? But those are my 5 and my wild card, okay? Alex, Justin, Ryan, Nick, Mike LC, and then Biggie, if it's true, or Tyler Sweet, if that is what happens. One or two of those guys, wild cards, get in for New York, coming down. Going to be really, really interesting. Again, KBF is a 2 single-day events over the weekend. So there is a day 1 and a day 2. If you look right now, not everybody fishing on day 1 is fishing on day 2. Okay? Again, I don't know if the KBF's doing the Pro Series or not anymore. We had the 2-day cumulative. I know there's a Dakota Power Buck thing. It gets confusing after a while, to try and figure that out. But again, I look at Saturday, day 1. Because of the weather, because of anything that can happen, you could find some people dropping off on Sunday anyway if the weather does get crappy, or they could cancel Sunday's event altogether if what they say could happen actually happens. I think they're going to be fine. I know there's no at Elysiovania, the boating event. There hasn't really been that much of a concern. Kayaks is a little bit different. You don't want to be out in that channel, and you don't want to be dealing with that, with those winds, especially if they get up to 15 plus miles an hour, and you're out in the channel. Not a good idea. Stay back in the creeks where you're protected, where you can get off if a storm rolls through. And they tend to roll through pretty quick for the most part. It's a lot like the Bay, maybe a little less than the Bay, but they roll through pretty quick if it's just like a storm. Now, if you're just getting steady rain all day long, that's going to be something a little bit different. That's going to impact everything that's happening. So that's it. Those are your my 5 KBF fantasy picks for this Saturday and Sunday, April 29th and 30th. Hopefully I'll see a couple of you guys who follow the channel. I will see you guys probably Sunday, I think. We'll see what happens. I think I'll see a couple of you guys on Sunday. So just text me up, hit me up on Messenger if you let me know where you're going to be, and we will get together, grab a beer, do whatever afterward, or Saturday night afterward. because I will be pretty close nearby in the College Park area. All right, I'll see you later, mates.